Welcome to another edition of the entertainment segment of Impact. I am your host, independent filmmaker John Russell Cring, and we've got a first here. I love firsts. We have our first author, local upstate talent, Miss Winifred Elze. Thanks for being on the show.
Good to be here.
What a great name. Winifred Elze. I mean, it's like you were born to be an author with a name like that.
Well, it helps to have an uncommon name.
An uncommon name. So it's not like your stage name. You're not just Jane Smith or anything. And I was like, I'll be Winifred Elze now.
Well, it's the name I was born to.
Well, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, it's the name you were born to. Great, great, awesome. And you are from Schenectady?
No, I'm from Staten Island.
Oh, from Staten Island. How long have you been up here?
25 years or so.
Okay, well then you're from Schenectady. I mean, at this point, see, that's what with me. I'm from Ohio, but I only lived there for like 5 years. But I lived other places for much, much longer. So it's kind of weird, you know, when you say where you're from. It's a boring conversation. Let's move on to something else. Let's talk about books.
Okay.
Because you're a very accomplished author of a number of books and novels and short stories and that type of thing. How did you get into it?
I mean, writing to
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to make money or just to write?
Well, okay. Well, is that the way it started? Did
Yeah.
it start with just you writing, and then
Yes.
it was like, I can make a little bit of moolah doing this?
Well, not really. It was, I like to write, I like to act. I had children.
Okay.
And balancing all three, one had to go. It wasn't going to be the kids. And
Sometimes it needs to be the kids.
No.
Just chuck them in the pan, right?
But I cared more about writing than acting, and I could do it any place, and I could make my own schedule. And I didn't make any money, but I was happy.
Right. What was your first story about? I mean, not like when you were a teen, but like the first time you were like, I'm going to write, and it was your first story.
One I wrote when I was a teen actually did win second place in a citywide Manhattan, New York
Really?
contest that NYU held.
What was it about?
It was about a girl contemplating suicide.
Now that's a good teen story. I think everybody can relate to something like that. Were you actually in a very depressed state at that point, or?
No, I knew somebody who was.
Okay, all
And
right.
I don't always write about myself, but that's one of the ways I understand how other people are feeling or what's going on inside them is to try to get inside their heads and write it.
That's a very interesting point. You know, I do screenwriting, and one of the things I always tell people is you can't write with the same voice. It's not like every single character will say the same things, and you know, not everybody can cuss, for example. I learned, even though I personally do cuss, though I promise I try not to do it on this show. Damn it! But Winifred, how do you inhabit your characters? Do you actually speak it out loud, in your mind as you're doing it? How does it work?
It depends on the book. These are relatively easy because they're largely plot-driven.
Right.
This is different because the girl in it, it's in the early 1920s. She's
Right.
9 when it starts.
Okay.
She's a German immigrant.
Right.
And she lives above a candy store.
Okay.
But she's
Tilda, right?
Tildy.
Tildy,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't know it at the beginning of the book, but she's bipolar.
Okay.
So I have to work into that and find
Did
out
you
where
have to
her-
research the 1920s to try to get
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of a feel? Okay.
Yeah.
Was that difficult?
No, there's Google.
Google will save you.
You want to know what something cost in 1920? You just Google it.
Yeah. How you wonder how Charles Dickens did it? Well, actually, he just wrote about his time.
Yeah, he
Yes. But these, are these all self-published, or do you have a publisher?
No, these are self-published. I had St. Martin's for the first two, which I didn't bring in. It gets too heavy. Changeling Garden and Here Kitty Kitty were published by them.
Okay. But now you're self-publishing because you had a negative experience, or you just wanted to?
Because Bertelsmann came in and only wanted to publish bestsellers. And you can't only publish bestsellers.
Okay.
And there was no longer any opportunity to build a readership.
Right.
It was either you're a bestseller or you're out.
Really? Very, very interesting. So that's what's going on, almost the same way it is with films, where if you are not not just a tentpole film, but where you can have many, many sequels to it, it's the same way with publishing. Because it seems like books all are coming in these giant, like, A is for this, or, sets of 4, 5, 6, 7, different books. And is it basically you have to have all of those planned out to even get interest from a publisher these days?
I don't know. Nobody's interested in me these days. But
I'm interested in you, Winifred. You're here. You're on Impact. Come on.
Well, not nobody, but I have people.
I
who
am
do come
nobody.
to
You're absolutely right.
People who come to Proctor's and will buy the book or see it someplace else will usually come back and buy another one.
Right.
When the next one comes out, which.
Well, that's great. Well, you're developing a fan base then.
Yeah.
Your books really, they are kind of all over the map as far as you have a lot of different interests. You have like a mystery, you have sort of a horror, you have short stories. Is it just kind of your whim, what you're feeling at the moment?
Yes.
Oh God, Winifred, please no one-word answers. Oh, I'll have to hurt you. Don't do this to me.
Well, it depends on what's going on in my life. And this one I couldn't write until people had died.
Okay.
Because I had to be free of, they would tell me how to do it.
Okay.
This is short stories that are based in Schenectady, Argyle, where I lived for about 10 years, and a number of, other surrounding areas.
Are they based on people that you've met, or are they fictionalized, or are they kind of a combination?
It's fiction.
It's fiction.
Yeah, different genres too. Things that have basically, from things that had happened, but not. I would take do something with the character to make a story.
When you meet somebody for the first time, do you sort of look at them and look for the character traits that you will incorporate into future stories?
No,
okay.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I'm just after you don't really know people the first time you meet them anyway.
True.
It takes a little while, and then I don't consciously model on a particular person. I'll use some traits from them, but it has to become a whole person in my head.
Right.
So that I can write about it, and nobody really knows what the whole person inside another person is.
Okay.
So you have to.
Who are some of the authors that spoke to you, that inspired you as, to become a writer?
Oh, George Bernard Shaw. Anthony Trollope. Jane Austen.
My wife is just absolutely just obsessed with Jane Austen.
Yeah.
She loves it. She loves every form of it. Do you? Is there a social consciousness that you're trying to express in your stories, or is it? Do you just want to tell a great story?
These are just stories. This goes. It starts. This one goes through the Depression, and the other one picks up. Yeah, I'm on the third one now, and I just reached World War II.
Okay, so this is a series then.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's Tildy, and what's the second one?
If Only.
If Only. Does it follow the same characters?
It's the same point of view character all the way through.
Okay.
She's graduated from high school in this one, and she's starting a career.
Okay.
Or trying to. But she's an artist, and it's not easy during the Depression.
I have to be honest with you, okay? I have been... the whole YA movement has just dominated its, fiction writing. But it seems like the quality of the writing itself has dropped. Is that because now, even though you have 40-year-old women who are reading all of the Twilight series or Beautiful Creatures or 50 Shades of Grey or whatever, because it started out as being written for 12-year-olds, is that why the actual phonetic quality of the writing has dropped?
I haven't read any of those books.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's why I haven't read any.
But it seems like the actual writing itself has been brought down to a lower level, hasn't it?
Okay, anybody can publish anything now.
Right.
I mean, you can just go on Amazon and do whatever you want.
Right.
And it doesn't even cost anything.
Uh-huh.
But it's different now because they don't have editors.
Interesting.
And when I signed on with St. Martin's, I had an editor, and then I had a copy editor, who went through just to make sure that all the the typos and things were right.
Right.
And he would edit. I would go back, I'd do the rewrites, send it back to him. But you got some feedback.
Really? So that is a thing of the past now. They're really not editing books.
Not that I can see.
Fascinating.
That's why you need writers groups.
Okay. Forgive me, I'm not even familiar. What exactly is a writers group?
Okay, well, I'm in one that meets at Barnes and Noble at Colony Center, and we get together every Tuesday, and we bring in like 10 pages of whatever we're working on, and we read it and we critique it. And if it's fine, you say it's fine, and if there's something that doesn't strike you as being quite right, you point that out.
Okay.
And but you need the feedback, because you can write something and not know how it comes across to other people just because it sounds right to you.
Right. Exactly. No. That makes perfect sense. With all the self-publishing that you're doing, and the fact that you're in Proctor's, you're at the Open Door, people can find you on Amazon, that type of thing. Are you finding that your readership, you're building people are starting to notice you and clamor for your books?
Glamour is kind of a strong word.
Sorry.
But yeah, people will pick one up at Proctor's because I have enough of them now that they can come back. When we first did The Borgia Prince, it was slow going, even though it's a murder mystery set in Proctor's, which does help to sell it.
Right.
But as they get to be more of them, yes, people do. And when I first put the book on Amazon, I got attention too. People were noticing it, but then Amazon changed its policy, and they want you to be exclusively with Amazon.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then they give you help, and they let you do all kinds of things to publicize it if you're exclusively with Amazon.
Winifred, you're giving me a little bit of this inside stuff that I didn't know. I like that, because not the average person really, I learned this from filmmaking. There are worlds upon worlds upon worlds that other people have no idea about. For example, if you're into roller derby, there's a whole world of roller derby, but most people have no idea of anything about it. And so in this world of publishing and writers and that type of thing, I had no idea that, there were all of these sort of new issues in the 21st century that you were having to face.
Yeah. Well, Susan Novotny and the bookstore, it was in the paper the other day, they're suing Amazon because Amazon is trying to get a monopoly.
Right.
And they've hooked up with some of the big publishing houses to do that.
When you're writing into different genres, when you're bouncing from mystery to something a little bit more supernatural to, something, very realistic, does your writing style actually change as far as, for example, can you go from Raymond Chandler to, Stephen King to Charles Dickens in the way that you're writing, or is it always going to be Winifred, no matter what the story?
It's always going to be me, but there'll be a different emphasis.
Okay.
This requires a lot of introspection on the character's part. This is the only mystery I've written, and I wrote it because there was somebody I wanted to kill, and it seemed a safer way to do it.
All right.
So that's...
Well, in your first story, you wanted to kill yourself, but... Yeah. No. That's so you're kind of working out things also in your own personal life through your stories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure. Or other people's personal lives,
Well,
or things that happened before I was born, which is true of the first one of these books.
What are you currently working on?
The third one of those books.
Okay, and at what point in history does that take place?
It's the beginning of World War II.
Beginning of World War II?
Yeah, it takes about 100 pages to get to World War II, but it's leading up to it.
Can you give us a little bit of just a little bit of an idea of what the Tilde series and If Only and the third book, kind of a general idea of what they're about?
It's about German immigrants who have to live here through World War II.
Okay.
And it's about a girl who is talented but bipolar.
Okay.
And she kind of...
And there was no bipolar diagnosis at that point?
No. No, it would be manic depressive.
Okay.
And they really didn't have anything for it except shock treatments.
Oh my gosh. Does she get shock treatments in it? Wait, can you tell me?
No.
All right. We have to keep some secrets here. I understand. So it just sort of is following this character all the way up, through the war and the German. Very interesting. What was the seed that got you interested in that particular series of books?
My mother.
Okay.
Yeah, she was bipolar and she was an artist, and she lived at that time period.
I find that. Especially when I'm looking for actresses, and I actually have an actress who writes for me sometimes, that people that are able to, people who have had sort of that sort of emotional, those sort of emotional issues, if they can actually channel that into the art, amazing things can actually happen. Just the fact that they have such a wealth of experience. If you're a person that nothing's ever happened to, you probably shouldn't be a writer.
Yeah.
So I can tell that that's not you, Winifred. I mean, you've had life experience, or have you?
Not.
You what? You have no life experience?
Not really. Well, I mean, everybody has life experience, but I tend to be, the one off to the side and.
Just writing about other people's adventures and things like that.
Well, some of these were mine.
Right. So we've already said you can get these books at Open Door. You can get them at Proctor's. You can get them on Amazon. You have a website too.
Yes, I do.
Exciting. That's great. That's great. And what would you hope to see in publishing? I mean, obviously you don't want Amazon to take over and basically have a monopoly. But what do you hope to see in the next 10 years for self-publishing? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I would like to see the writers keep control of their work instead of having the big conglomerates trying to take over everything. And I would like to see some kind of way of sorting out the good from the bad. Because right now it's just a huge mass of books on Amazon. And much fewer in other places, but there are very few book reviews written anymore. I can't go to the newspaper and read a book review and say, oh, I would like to get that book.
Right.
I don't know where to find that out. And there are other places coming along, like Goodreads, where people will get together and they will read books and comment about them online and all that. Things like that can probably help, but they tend to get corrupted.
And also, with the loss of things like Barnes & Noble and things like that, where you would go there and go, what's something really good to read, and you could trust what they're saying. Losing that, you just really can't do that on the internet because you don't know how corrupted it is. So I understand what you're saying. It's very much the same thing with the video store. Yes, we have Netflix, but it's not the same thing. It's not actually having it in your hand, and speaking to somebody about it. So I definitely see where you're coming from. Do you find yourself writing just all the time, or do you have to be inspired to write?
You don't wait for inspiration. You never get anything done. No, I sit down and I write.
It's a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Because with these, it's a certain amount of, I have to do research, and sometimes I don't get any actual writing done for a day while I'm finding out where they are, how they would get from one place to another in New York at that time.
Right.
Well, I don't want to go into plot things, but anyway, it's there's a lot that has to be done. And then once I get that done, then I can take the scene forward. But I don't write really fast. It's not all plot driven. I like the characters to have something to say. I want to find out what they will do, and when I know where they are, what they're doing, what they would have in their hands. Probably because I was an actor, I use that a lot too. So that's usually my starting point.
Excellent, excellent. Well, maybe one day I'll turn one of your films into one of your books into a film, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Winifred, what is the website where people can also find out about your books?
Oh, just winifredelze.com.
winifredelze.com.
It comes right up, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have an independent artist like yourself, a prolific independent artist like yourself here on the show. And I took a look at some of the excerpts on the website, and you have a great economic style of writing that definitely drew me in. So thank you so much for being on the show, and thanks for checking out another episode of Impact. We'll see you next week.
Proctors, bringing the best in arts, education, and entertainment.